Hello and welcome in this first video where we are going to prepare our Blender for all the work that we will be doing throughout this course. So this is a fresh Blender scene. I'm going to pick general, and surprisingly I'm not actually going to delete any of these elements. Or actually I might delete the light because we are going to add later a sunlight, not this spotlight. Or actually point light. So hit X and then delete. The first thing I'm going to do is to adjust the UI of Blender to optimize it as much as possible for all the work that we will be doing. I'm going to hide this bar right here because I don't need it. So let's just go here. You will have header and you will have this option show tool settings. I'm going to hide it. So I will basically have more area to work in. The other thing, there is a really important add-on that we need to activate that we will need later for all the node work that we will do, which is the Node Wrangler add-on, which probably already have it activated, but just in case, make sure to go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and from here you need to look for Node Wrangler, this one right here. And yeah, this is all we need for now. So right now, let's start preparing our scene. Planets are always spheres, as far as I know. Should we delete this cube and go Shift A and add a sphere, or should we work with this cube? The thing is about spheres in Blender is that they do have a really terrible topology, especially if you look from the top. If I hit tab to jump to the edit mode, you will notice that you have this huge pole right here, which is super ugly. And for example, when we will subdivide this, if I go here and let's add modifier, generate subdivision surface, and let's crank the level to 2 and shade auto smooth, you will notice that still on the top you will have some sort of weird, basically something that looks like a star, and this is basically a sign of bad topology. That's why actually creating planets out of spheres, and this is basically what most of the videos you will find out there do, is not the best solution. There is a better way to do this. So I'm going to select the sphere and X to delete it, and let's try to think of a way of how to turn this cube into a sphere. The main reason for that is that when we will turn this cube into a sphere, we will have an even quad topology, which is exactly what we want. So here's what we will be doing. While I am in the edit mode, I hit tab, I'm going to hit the right mouse button, and you will have an option called subdivide, which will actually subdivide this cube once, and you can do it twice, but instead of like basically hitting subdivide and all of that, you can hit Shift R to repeat the last operation you did, which in our case it was the subdivide. So when I hit Shift R, I will be able to subdivide this cube even more. I will set it on something like this, basically 5 level or 6 level of subdivision. So right now we do have the same exact cube. The only difference is it is like subdivided like a lot. Right now, if we can figure out a way to turn this into a sphere, we will be good. To do this, while you are in the edit mode, you will have an option right here. It should be, yeah, to sphere, this option right here. So if I select to sphere, or the shortcut is Shift Alt S, you will be able to basically convert this into a sphere. Notice what will happen. I will be able to transform it into a sphere. So make sure that the level right here is 1, and boom, right now we turn this cube, which is called cube, into a sphere. And the really nice thing about this sphere is that it is all basically quads. It does have really nice topology and all of that, which is exactly what we want. So let's rename this, for example, land, because this will be our planet land, and boom, this is our sphere. I'm going to hit N to open the sidebar, and from here I want the size to be exactly 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. This will ruin our scale, so make sure you select your sphere, hit Ctrl A to apply the settings, and make sure you apply the scale so that it will be back to 1. We need that later for all the texture coordinate stuff. And hit N to close the sidebar. Okay, right now we got the surface of our planet done. Let's right now add a camera and a light. For the camera, we already have one, which I don't know where it is. It is right here. I want this camera to be pointing exactly toward this planet. So how can we do this? Basically, I need first of all to reset the position of this camera into the center. You can easily do that by selecting your camera. Make sure you jump to the object properties. For the location, I'm going to turn it to 0. And for the rotation, also I'm going to turn it to 0. So right now it is pointing just like so. If I hit 1 from the number pad, I'm going to jump to the front view. And as you can see, from the front view, I need to have the x-axis right here and the z-axis pointing top. So if I want the camera to be pointing exactly from the front view to this planet, I need to rotate it to something like so that it will be pointing exactly to this. So how can we do that? Make sure you select it, and in the rotation on the x-axis, make sure it is 90. So right now it is pointing like this, and you can always change the location so that it will be something like so. This is exactly what we want. And something that you will always find me doing is basically to go here and add another window, and from here I'm going to hit 0 from the number pad to jump to the camera view. So this is what my camera right now sees, and we can hide all of these unnecessary stuff like the toolbar by hitting T, and let's hide all of these overlays. You can also jump to your camera settings by clicking here, and in the viewport display you will have this option called passe-partout, which is actually a French word. What you need to do is basically to bring this up to 1 so that basically everything outside what the camera will see will be black. I find this way less distracting. Let's right now just adjust our view, so make sure you select your camera. You can hit J and then Y to move it on the Y axis, and let's get it slightly closer. Something looking like so I think will be good. We just basically made sure that everything is in the center. The next part will be just adding a simple light and adjusting the overall lighting of the scene. If I just jump to the rendered view from here, space should be black. That's why I'm going first of all to jump to the environment, and in the color, or actually in the strength, I'm going to bring this down to 0. So there is no light from the environment. Other thing, I'm going right now to go Shift A and let's add a light. What is the light that exists in the space? It is not a point light, it is a sunlight. So I'm going to add a sunlight. And what you need to know about the sunlight is that the position of the light doesn't matter because it is just a direction. It is like you have a huge source of light and all what matters is how it is rotated. And as you can see, if I move this light, nothing actually will change. The only thing that will change if I start rotating it. I'm just going to hit Alt G to reset it back to the original position, and you can hit JZ to just move it up. I know, as I said, the position doesn't matter, but just for the sake of us so that, okay, we can see that there is a sunlight and it is pointing down. And as you can see, this light is hitting this sphere from the top, and there is some sort of like degradation. It is not smooth enough. So that's why I'm going to select the sphere and hit Shade Smooth. So right now it is perfectly smooth. And from the settings of the sunlight, you can always jump here and you can bring the strength to something like 25. This you might say like, hey, this is too strong. And actually with all the textures that we will add and the atmospheric elements we will add later, 25 actually will look pretty sick. So don't worry if it is a little bit too bright for now, we'll fix that later. Also, if you want, you can play a little bit with this angle, which will basically control the extinction of the light or the extinction of the shadow. I don't know what they call it, or how soft the shadow is. So yeah, you can definitely play with this number. The last thing that we need to work on right now is actually our render settings. We're not gonna adjust all of them right now, but there are a couple of important ones that we need to basically change right now. So let's jump to our render settings. First thing that you will see is that right now we're using Eevee. Eevee is not the right render engine that we will use. We're going to use Cycles. We're going to leave the feature set for now as supported, and in the device, if you have a GPU card, then you probably need to use it, or you should use it, so make sure to jump to GPU compute. This will make everything slightly faster. For the viewport sample and render sample, I'm going to leave them right now the way they are, and directly I'm going to jump into light paths. In space, there's no light paths, so I'm going to bring this to 0, diffuse 0, also to 0, and also for the transmission it should be 0. There are still a couple of settings that we will get back to them later, especially in the volumes, but as of this moment, this is all we need to actually start working on creating our planet for now. The last thing I'm just going to get back to, which is in the sun settings, I'm going to, in the angle, I'm going to reset it to its default value, reset to default value. I dig this result way more. If we need to later on increase the angle, we can always do that. But as of this moment, I'm just going to leave it to the default value. Right now, we do have a ready Blender scene to actually start adding our textures and all of that to it. I will see you in the next video where we are going to add the texture to the surface of the Earth. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. And also make sure to save your file.